Thank you for the coming back for the second session. Uh, Let me give a summary of what we looked at in the first session. We said that leadership is about intentionally influencing the context in which God has placed you by being a servant for the greater purpose of God. Wherever God has kept you, whatever role might be, whatever position might be, may not be any position also, but that is what leadership is about. Intentionally influencing the context in which God has placed you for the greater purpose of His kingdom by serving people and the context. We looked at 6 internal characteristics which are important for a leader. How can you be a person of influence? We said a person of influence has to have a clear inner security. The identity should be very clear. Who he is, who she is, and what is the purpose of which he or she has God has placed in this place. So the inner security is important. We looked at the inner clarity of framework of a leader, that he or she is to be a servant. And then we talked about any person of influence should have a personal life vision statement, that I am called to be in this place for this particular purpose. We looked at personal disciplines, spiritual discipline of growing in the knowledge of Christ, intellectual disciplines of reading and reflecting and thinking, and emotional disciplines, which will make you a person of character, competence, and compassion. And fifth, we looked at leading not from your strengths alone, but from an understanding that it is God who enables you from a position of even weakness and vulnerability. Depends on God and interdepends on each other. And committed to finishing well. A long, drawn out life of influence. Now we're going to look at 6 leadership tasks. What should we do to influence the context in which God has kept us? What is the role of a person of influence in creating or living in a context and influencing that context of people around you? What does he or she do? We will look at 6 things again. The first thing is, again, coming back to the vision, not a personal vision alone, but a bigger vision for the context in which God has kept you. The vision for the context and the people with you. In Proverbs, Solomon says, where there's no vision, people are unrestrained. When you don't have a vision, you lose direction. When there's no prophetic vision or revelation from God, people cast off restraint. That's what you see. There's anarchy. End of Judges, the writer says, each person did what he felt right. That's the context in which the world is today. But a person who has to influence the context or people around them, him or her, has to have a vision for them and the people around. What is the vision we are talking about? We are talking about the kingdom of God, the inaugurated, but not yet, but one day will be consummated. That's the picture Jesus gave. He gave different pictures of the kingdom. But we have to understand how does that relate to the context in which we are living in. You and I might be placed in a hospital or a healthcare situation, a government hospital or a mission hospital or a college as a student or a staff, whatever it is. How would the dream of the kingdom relate to that context? What is the dream for you in your mind? So you and I need to have that vision. Not only have that vision, but promote that vision among the people of whom you want to influence and help them to own the vision. So that is the first role of a leader. Have a vision for the context or the place where God has kept you. Create that vision ownership among the people whom you come in touch with. Jesus did that. He did it beautifully by various metaphors. He gave the picture of the kingdom. He sat with his disciples, gave them 15 different pictures of the kingdom. What was he trying? He was actually giving them a vision. He gave them through metaphors, word pictures, stories, drawing from the daily and known context. He talked about the mustard seed and the salt, the light, the net. Is like a field. It's like a farmer. Probably he was walking around the field and looked at the farmer and said, "Look at the farmer." He drew pictures and challenged their imagination and helped them to reflect what kingdom of God would look like. This is what we are called to do. Create that picture for others. There's this story in the diary of Ida Scudder, the founder of CMC Velo. There was a point in time that's immediately after Indian independence. The women's college was already formed and it was doing well. India had got independence, and she decided that should become not just a women's college, but both men and women should be there. Boys also should be allowed to enter the college. So she wrote this letter to all her funders, funders who are the founding boards in various countries, telling them that she is changing it from a women's college to a mixed college. All the boards objected, saying that they will not support. No money will be given if she's going that direction, except the India board. At that crisis point, she wrote in a diary, "First ponder, then rare. Know your facts, count the cost. Money is not the most important thing. What you are building is not a medical school. It is the kingdom of God. Don't err on the side of being small. It is if the will of God that we should somehow keep the college open, it has to be done." What was she doing? She was at a point of crisis. She was coming back to the big picture of the vision. What was the vision? Vision was not a medical college. It was the kingdom of God. So it is that vision which gave her the tenacity in the midst of all the funding being stopped. Today, what CMC Vellore is what it is because of that person's vision. And that bigger vision gave her the ability to persevere despite her supporters saying no to her. Very important to understand that one of the main important role of an influencer is to have a vision for the context and help others to see that vision. The second role of a leader or an influencer is to trust and become trustworthy. Let me explain this. There's a question asked in the last session. Now, a leader or an influencer has to be a person whom others can trust. How do others know that you are trustworthy? They should know that you have the best of their interests and the best of the interest of the vision for which you and they have been called to. A best of the interest for the bigger picture of the vision and the movement you and I are part of, and for each other. So you have to be a person whom others can trust. At the same time, you have to develop the ability to trust others. That's what Jesus did. In about less than a year's time, Jesus called the 12 and gave them the responsibility and sent them out. If I was in Jesus' position, I would have said 1 year is not enough. They're still confused. They're still fighting between themselves. They're still questioning various things. They still are fighting who will be the bigger person here. I know they are nowhere near maturity. But Jesus trusted them and gave the responsibility to them. Not only the 20, he gave to 72. Probably many of the 72, Jesus did not know one-to-one, but he allowed them to take steps of faith. And not with all the resources, without any resources, with no staff, no bag, no bread, no money, dependent on God and dependent on each other. He was trusting them to be his hands and feet. He was taking a big risk with them. We live in the context of a very low trust society. South Asia is a very low trust society. And all of us know, our communities don't trust each other. We have our caste systems, our religious divides, all kinds of things. Countries don't trust each other. The countries represented here don't trust each other. That's the context we are living in. In that context, we are called to be people who can be trustworthy and trust others. Of course, this is risky. When you trust others, Others might take advantage of you. My own journey, if you ask me, there are people whom I have trusted who have failed me. But for 10 people whom you trust, 2 might fail you. But the other 8 will run with it. God has called us to be trusting and be trustworthy, with all the risk involved in trusting others. That's the second role of a leader. The third role of a leader is to create a community that journeys together. You cannot lead alone. As a Christian, when you're called to be a person of influence, you're not called to be alone as a leader who's leading from top. No, we live in a context where we have a great big power distance. Especially India and South Asia have a high power distance. The leader is on the pedestal, the followers are behind. So if you look at our country leaders, any of our country leaders, if they have to travel on the road, there will be 10 cars, a whole lot of people around. There will be gunmen, the security, no common man can come near, because that's the context in which we live, power distances. In that context, a leader's role is to create community. Look at Jesus. Jesus at that point of time, a rabbi would not live with the disciples in that sense where Jesus did. He would teach them. He would encourage them to be learners. But Jesus, when they came and asked him, "Where do you live? Come and see." He opened his house to them. And there were multiple times where they would retreat together and learn together. The multiple open conversations. Not only the open conversations, there are times when Jesus opened his personal internal challenges to his followers. In the Garden of Gethsemane, the Mount of Transfiguration, the three saw the struggles he was going through, the glory he was exposed. He was also both Garden of Gethsemane and they saw him weeping. Can you and I, leaders, show our emotions, our struggles to our followers? That's what Jesus did. And then they had the meals together. He was the communion table, the foot washing, multiple parties where he took his disciples along. What was he doing? He was creating community. Through that community, he was building a community that will gel together and lead together for the purpose of the kingdom. That's the third role of a leader. The fourth role of a leader is to promote a learning culture, a lifelong journey of learning. Jesus, the teacher, accompanied the learners. What is he trying to do? If you look at his life, he's opened up his life in the most practical way by living with it. As a teacher, he was living with them, traveling with them, shared the harshness of the life with them, community. But in that community living, he spoke truth into their lives, even when it meant inflicting pain. He was actually strong with them in many times. He taught them by example. He was teaching them how to pray, how to enter other lives of other people, how to make decisions about various things, when to respect tradition, when to break the tradition. He gave them leadership skills and relational skills. He set them free after that to respond to the call and grow in their potential. Because he was preparing them for an apostolic life. This is the role of a leader, to come alongside, learn, and to learn together. There is this
learning
picture. There was a video put up. I'm unable to show it, but if you're interested more about this, you should go and read books on learning organization. A learning organization is an organization which has an intentional structure set in to learn from both the journey they are journeying, the failures, and every now and then they'll reflect on the good they have done, the failures they have done, and not pointing fingers. If I fail as a person, as a leader, I would open and say that this is the reason why I did it and this is why I failed. And I learn from it and open it up others. A system by which they are learning. A learning organization is where even the least of the person in the organization or the team can have his opinion. A learning organization may be a hospital where a sweeper can give an opinion to the director how the hospital should be maintained. Or, there is no hierarchy where each person is considered as equal and given opportunity to learn and grow together. That is a learning organization. Important, maybe good to go and read this further. So a leader creates a context of learning, and he ensures she is himself a learner. The fifth role of a leader is to celebrate diversity. One of the things I have realized in my own journey is that the most difficult thing in leadership is people. I used to tell this to others. If there are no people, I could lead this organization very well. If you take up all the people, I can lead it very well. The moment I get people who think differently, I find it difficult. I'll tell you, at one point of time in a particular role I was holding, I had a person who thought kingdom is about going to the public government office and influencing policy. The other person would say kingdom is about planting church every day. Another doctor would say kingdom is about doing 20 laparoscopies, cholecystectomies every week. The other person would say kingdom is about empowering the poor to fight for their rights. And each of them felt very strongly that this is what we should be doing, would not agree to each other. How do you hold this team together? But a leader's role is to celebrate diversity, because God created diversity. Celebrate and this diversity and help people to live and grow together. This is what Jesus did. Look at Jesus' disciples. It is a complex group of people. He was helping them to become a happy few. Gordon MacLeod in his book on Resilient Life writes this. He says, Lord called them to become a happy few, a band of brothers. And it would have seen absolute absurdity, because Matthew is a tax collector, Simon is a zealot, totally opposite in their political leanings. Matthew sided with the Romans. Simon was a zealot who wanted to destroy Romans. How could they, give up, who wanted to kill one another, give up politics and become part of one team? That's what Jesus was trying to do. Simon Peter, who was always impulsive, talks before he thinks. On the other hand, Thomas, who was always melancholic and doubting. This is what Jesus was doing. And John and his brother always thinking about how can they be the toppers in the team. A complex group of people. But Jesus, was intentionally celebrating the diversity and helping them to accept this diverse people. Now we took at 5 things. We said that a leader's role is to have a vision for the context in which God has kept him or her, help others to see that vision, and help them to own the vision. We said that a leader's role is to be trustworthy. Others should be able to trust you. A leader's role is to create trustworthiness and trust others. We said that a leader has to also create community. And we talked about moving from community to celebrating diversity and creating a context where people can learn. It's a constant context of learning. But all those are theoretically good. What is all those for? It is to get the things done. You have a vision which God has given you. You have a deep sense of where God is leading you. You know that you want to influence this place, this context, this community, these people whom God has given you into your life for the purpose of the kingdom. How do you do it? What should I do to do it? How can I move from just being a visionary, just being a community builder, just being a person who can teach and learn, to getting things done? If that is not there, a leader is only a theoretical visionary. You need to move from your vision to implementing it. You have to move from I won't do it to I did it. Helping people with you who are with you to move from I won't do it to somebody might say I can't do it. I want to do it, but I don't know how to do it. I'll try to do it. Maybe I can do it. But the role of a leader is to direct and support people to help them to say, yes, I did it because we worked together as a team. Just getting it done. So facilitating systems and process to get things done. Clear strategies and action steps you will take to journey towards that vision. It has to be specific. It has to be measurable. This is what I'll do to reach where. This is what I want to achieve, attain. And this is what is relevant to the context in which God has given. And this is what I'll do over this period of time. Unless you get things done, you can't, influence. But you don't manage things, you lead people. When it comes to leading, leadership is about leading people. You manage tasks and you're leading people so that they will perform very well. It is not your performance that is important, it's the performance of others. So let me conclude. We have I want to conclude early and have more time of interaction and questions. We looked at 6 things a leader should do. 1, you should have a vision for the place God has kept and create that vision which others will own and move along with you. And you have to be a person who is trustworthy, and you have to be a person who can trust others with all its dangers of trusting. And you have to be a person who creates community and creates a culture of learning together, using successes and failures to learn at all levels of the community, and celebrating diversity, understanding that God has given a group of people with all their differences, colors, and thorns and creeds into our life so that we can influence each other, celebrate the diversity because God has created us unique. And then using all this to facilitate systems and processes to get things done. So let me summarize what we said over the last 2 sessions. We said leadership is about intentional influence. God has called you and I and placed us in situations or contexts with people and contexts around us to be a channel of influence. Influence for what? For the greater purpose of God. For God's kingdom to come into that place. How do we do that? Through serving. But to do that, you need to be a person of influence. What are the 6 things you need to be? You need to be a person who's clear about his or her identity. You need to be a person who understands that leading is not about position, but leading is about serving. Not servant leadership, servanthood. I am here to serve others and the context. But you need to have a personal vision statement. What is God's purpose for you at this point of time in the place God has given? Try to come up with a personal vision statement for that period of time, maybe 5 years. But a leader has to be a person who is disciplined in his life. Spiritual disciplines, intellectual disciplines of knowing, growing in your knowledge and skills, and emotional disciplines of being an empowerer. A person who is compassionate, who has got a character, competence, and compassion. And not leading with the ability you have only, but leading with the understanding that even when you are called to do things beyond your area of strength, there is God's presence in your life. You are dependent on God and interdependent on others. You are broken vessels into which God has put his treasure. And who is clear that I am committed to finishing well, a long run. You're not called for 2 years of influence and 5 years of rest. We are called for a lifetime of influence for God's kingdom. Such a person would develop a vision for the place God has given and look at opportunities to share that vision with others, like Jesus did with the kingdom vision, and help others to own that vision. And he or she would be trustworthy and help others to trust you. And then intentionally create communities and help each other to learn through successes and failures, and celebrate the diversity of the community God has given to us to get things done with very clear timelines, processes, and systems, so that through coming together as a community which trusts each other, and celebrating the differences and learning together, can influence and get things done, so that we can move together towards the big picture of God's kingdom. So, 4 questions for us to consider as we conclude this session. Do you consider yourself to be a leader? What is leadership? Influence. If you think you are not a leader, understand that if God has given you a place or a situation where you can be an influence, even one person, you are a leader. Leadership is about influence. Second question is, what is your understanding of leadership? Leadership is about influence, influencing the context by serving others, influencing for the greater purpose of the kingdom in their lives and the context. But then you need to be a person of influence. You need to have your internal journey of being a person of influence. Where are you in that 6 I highlighted? There are more, but and how are you intentional in engaging in the place God has kept you to influence the context for the kingdom? How do you how are you doing that intentionally? Question for us to ask and consider. There are at least 5 different pictures you can pick up from Jesus' life on servanthood. So it's one of the pictures which is easy to explain. Jesus was a servant leader, but Jesus also was an authoritative leader. That's why if you look at the way he engaged with his disciples, he was strict with them, he disciplined them, he questioned them, he rebuked them. But they would not feel bad because they knew that he was trustworthy. He had their best interests. At the same time, when he met with leaders who were speaking as, who were positional leaders who were not leading well and creating problems for followers, like the Pharisees and others, he was pretty strict with them. He overthrew the business happening in the temple, all those, definitely yes. But he knew which was the area of influence he can do that. The ability to understand, where to influence and what to do where is also the role of a leader. So that story was not limiting. That story was used specifically to highlight that servanthood was the way in which Jesus engaged to influence his disciples. How do we lead people? We talked about 4 things. 1, trustworthiness. Trust them. 1 is trust them. 2, build a community, build relationship with them, build a community around. Celebrate and identify their strength and celebrate their strengths and their differences also. Teach them, help them to learn. Be a learning community. And then using this trust, this community, this diversity of strengths and teaching and learning, help them to implement what you want them to do. Give them tasks to get it done. So the problem is many times we manage people by giving them a task to do. A leader does not manage people. A leader leads people. What is leading? Leading is about trusting, empowering, building community, building relationship, and empowering them. And then giving them a vision against which they'll implement. See, the challenge is that, a leader will always, the most difficult thing for a leader in my own leadership journey has been leading people with different perspectives of the kingdom or perspectives of how things should be done. People used to ask, is leadership like herding a group of cats? I said, no, it is like herding a group of cats and dogs together, especially if they are doctors. Getting a group of doctors together, you'll have all kinds of thinking. That is where a leader's role is to have a common vision, help them to see a common vision, help them see that we are all moving in towards a common vision. There are different ways to reach that vision. The second role of a leader is to recognize that there are different ways to lead that vision and create that space for all those roads to be part of the movement. If you have the flexibility within that organization where God has kept you, or place where God has kept you. And then helping each other to see that these different roads will contribute somehow or other and celebrate each other, which would need a lot of time being spent in that team building and relationship building. If that is not done, you'll fight with each other and divide. So that's why managing is easy, give a task. Leading is difficult because a lot of time is spent with people, helping them to accept each other and pull the cart together. These ideals will never be available in the world this side of eternity. Let's face the fact. Okay, these are not ideals. We live in a broken world. We live with broken people, and you and I, as influencers, are broken people. But it's a journey into which God has called us. This is none of this idea. I don't think anywhere in the world you'll have this ideal situation. But if God has placed us in a place, in a context to be His channel of influence, our life journey has to be a journey of growing in as a person of influence and being intentional to influence. It might be one person around, maybe 10 people around. That faithfulness in being and doing what God has called us to be is what we are called for. In that journey, God will bring His fruits. That's why in the first session we looked at a farmer. A farmer faithfully puts a seed and waters it. Who gives the growth? God gives the growth. Farmer doesn't do anything to give the growth. God gives the growth. Transformation comes from God. Our call is to do that. So these are journeys into which God has called us with all its difficulties. But the enabling comes from God. That is why a leader's dependence is not in his strength, but on God. Question sometimes as Christians we ask is, should we be an inclusive community or an exclusive community? Now, to me, if God has called you or me, any of us, to be part of a secular community, a context in which God has placed us, it is God who has placed us there. It is not you and I who are placed there. Which means you are called to be a person of influence there. Of course, you might differ in the way in which you see the context. You might differ in the way you see the end product. But if there is no common direction in which you are going together, then you will ask the question. Now, any secular organization or any organization which has got a desire to do good can be a place where you can facilitate a kingdom influence. But if you're placed in an organization or a movement which is desiring to do bad, then you are not in the wrong place. The doing good of that organization may not be from a kingdom perspective, might be from a humanistic perspective. That is where God has kept you there, to be an influence for the kingdom and bring that picture. They might turn around and ask you, why are you doing what you're doing? Because you've got a bigger picture. And the foundational beliefs, if that foundational beliefs influence your functioning and working, you need to ask from God, am I to compromise. No way you can compromise on your foundational principles. Early in life, I learned one principle from a great leader who started a mission hospital. He said, there are two things in life. One, if it's a matter of opinion, give in. If it's a matter of principle, hold on. I asked him this question, what do you mean by that? He said, for me, principle is a kingdom principle. If my kingdom principle is being broken, I won't give in. I'm challenged to give up my kingdom principle, I won't give in. If it's a matter of an opinion, how it can be done, I will give in. So it's that discernment is important. In a college group, it is I think I shared some. The students' primary responsibility in the college is to be excellent in their studies, not the toppers, but good in their studies. So they have to role model a life of excellence. But they also need to have a bigger picture of that they are kept in that college to influence the class or the context for God's kingdom by God's values, by through life and through various things. So if they can have a mentor who can help them to have their own life personal vision statement for that 5 years in medical college or nursing college, wherever it is. Why has God kept them as individuals and as a community? And then look at practical ways in which they can be a person of influence and have specific action of influence. Mentor them, journey with them, and give them that vision. I'll tell you my own story. I was the only Christian in my class. I'm from a government medical college, but I had a senior group of 2 who kept challenging me constantly. You are kept in a class of 80 as the only Christian to be God's presence there. What are you doing with your life? So that kind of challenge we need to give to the students, that God has kept you in that place for this season to be His representatives in that place and mentor them to walk and journey. It's a simple question of understanding why has God kept you in that place for this period of time. For example, if you're a student, one of the questions you need to ask, what is the primary call for me? Your primary call is to be growing in the knowledge of Christ. You're called to be with Christ in the college where you're kept. Along with that, you're called to be an excellent student. The third is to be a channel of influence in your college, in your class. So you might say that in my 5 years in this college, I will be the best. I will put all my effort to be the best student in the class. At the same time, influence X number of people for God's kingdom by living a life of the kingdom, at the same time sharing from my life. That might be a personal vision statement. I'm just making it as simple as possible. So ask God to give you a clarity. Why has God kept you? And put that into a few statements and review it every 3 months and see whether your life is in aligning with that. Leadership is about openness and vulnerability. How do you build trust? Would you trust a person who does not show who he or she is, or who shows who he or she is, the weaknesses and the brokenness? It's a journey. Early in my own journey, I refrained from telling people my struggles. But over time, you need to come to a point where you have to open up your life so that this is what I'm struggling with, but I'm willing to accompany you. It is in that openness and vulnerability that you become a leader who is truly able to influence, an authentic leader. That's what Jesus did. He opened up his struggles, his pain, his emotions to his 3 friends. You may not do it for everybody. You might do it within a small group, but that is what you're called to. You are called to be an authentic leader person. You want to influence another person. You need to understand the worldview and the perspective from which he or she sees the world. So it's important, if God has called you to be a channel of influence in another person's life from another faith or background, it's important that you understand it. God has not called you for that. you may not need to. So if God has placed you in a context where people from other faith, other worldviews are given to you to influence, very important to spend time to understand how they see the world and the context. Then only you can communicate to them in a way they will understand. That he has to be a good communicator, but he doesn't need to be a vision, a prolific speaker or writer. Jesus' communication was the best. He told stories. He looked at the context and created word pictures, made it simple. A good communicator is a person who can use the regular routine life events and context and make things simple and clear for people. So it is a skill which you can learn. It's also something you can develop by constantly practicing it. So communication is very important. That's why not only having a vision, the ability to pass on that vision to others in simple words and help them to own the vision is the role of a leader. I know leaders who found themselves difficult to speak, used others to speak. Now that's what Moses, when he was called to be a leader, he said, I can't speak. God gave him Aaron. But look at Moses. Over the next, if you go back and read Deuteronomy, a person who said who couldn't speak, spoke some of the best, speeches, gave some of the best speeches I have ever read. God enabled him. So there might be people who find it difficult to speak or articulate well, but if God placed you in that position over time, God will enable you. At the same time, use other helps. So communication is very important. Everyone is a leader. Everybody, all people who can influence the context in which God has kept he or she is a leader. Now, if you see leadership as position, then it's a problem. If you have 10 people in a group, all of them are leaders. All of us are leaders. But it's the importance of the positional leader, the role of the positional leader to help each other to see that we are all together leading with our strengths. And all 10 cannot be positional leaders, but all 10 can be people of influence. We are looking leadership from that perspective. Important to grow in the discipline, 3 disciplines we talked about. The spiritual disciplines of submitting your emotions to God, growing in the knowledge of God, allowing God's Spirit to control your emotions. The intellectual discipline of reflecting and thinking and understanding situations and contexts and people through the right mind, not through our perspectives, but trying to grow in your knowledge of the context and people, and then use both to take control of your emotions. God will enable. It is a journey. And when you make a mistake, if you have got angry and upset or made a mistake, be open and vulnerable and ask for forgiveness. And get somebody to talk into your life. Keep somebody with you who can journey with you in the journey of growing in your emotions. If a leader cannot build a community, build a team or a group of people around him or her who are pulling together for a common vision or a goal and accepting each other and pulling together, I think he's a failure. If a leader, is insecure in himself and shows out his emotions through that because of their insecurity, it's the start of a failure. You can be positive leader. King Saul was the best example. He was an insecure leader. He continued to be in a position for many years, though he was an insecure leader. A study of King Saul would be very good to understand what are the failures you can avoid. The question is, when leaders fail or when your team member fails, what do you do? It's a complex question to respond. I want to just say that there are 3 or 4 principles you need to hold on. You need to have grace and discipline. You have to openness, at the same time respect the other person's personal journey, his honor and his personal journey. So both discipline and grace goes together. Openness, at the same time, wisdom to understand where the other person is also goes together. The role of a leader is to balance these complexities together. It's a creative tension to hold discipline and grace. Wisdom to know what to do, at the same time respect the person's individuality.